Early on in my dating relationship with my wife, I got to spend a lot of time with her family, specifically her sister that's closest in age to her and her parents. And so, you know those families that you see, and you see all the siblings in pictures are lined up, and they're just carbon copies of each other. They look the same, they talk the same, they walk the same, they have the same habits. Well, this was my wife and her sister. Everything they did together, they were even roommates at the time. And so one of the things that I found out really early on in our relationship is that once in a while, these sisters would answer the phone for their boyfriends. Now, thankfully, I had spent enough time with them that I could pick up on some of the differences that they had. And she still says to this day, it only happened once, but that one time that her sister picked up the phone, immediately I knew, hey, this isn't the person that I'm trying to reach. Put your sister on your phone. I want to talk to her. Hey, Daily Dosers, my name is Chase. I'm from our Temecula campus. And isn't it funny that in the Bible, it says that we're supposed to pick up on voices this quickly, right? Jesus has a bunch of his disciples, a bunch of followers following him around. And in John 10, he talks about how a good shepherd, the sheep will know his voice. He'll be able to call them over by their name, and they immediately run over. And more interesting, I always love in verse 5, it says, they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. I always think of the old cartoons when we were growing up. You see a character in a moral dilemma or an ethical dilemma, and you see the two puffs of smoke and see a little dude over on one shoulder, and he's got the halo and the white robes on, and then on the other shoulder, you see the guy with the horns and the pointy tail. And it's really clear. The guy in the halo, that's the voice you're supposed to listen to. The other guy, he's the voice and the person that you're supposed to avoid. But for some of us as maybe new Christians or even experienced, been around a long time Christians, we have a hard time knowing, okay, is this the voice that I listen to, or is this a personal selfish ambition, or tell me what to do and I'll do it. And so I think of all weeks, man, it's so important to look at what's the tone of the voice that we should follow, because at the risk of oversimplifying it, if we know what God's voice sounds like, then maybe we can make some better decisions. And so as Jesus is drawing closer to the cross, he's got these professionals of the law coming after him. They ask him a really important question. Mark 12, 29 to 31 say this, of all the commandments, which is the most important? The most important one, answered Jesus, is this, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. The second is this, love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. See, if we know that this voice has this tone and we can run it through a filter of, okay, first and foremost, this has to be honoring and loving to God, and it's loving other people, maybe we can make some better decisions, right? So you get cut off on the highway. Do you speed up and let that person know just how upset and frustrated you are and which hand you actually drive with? We probably know the answer, and we know what loving someone looks like in that situation. Maybe some gossip or slander gets back to you. One of your close friends says something, and it travels through your circle of friends, and okay, this was shared with me. Do we fire back and let them know, okay, they said this about me. Well, man, I'll just share this with you, and we get even with them? Or do we actually go to the person that maybe you shared something in confidence and instead they shared that, or they said something that, man, it was really just intended for them? Do we go to them and try to seek out reconciliation instead, even though that's the harder option? Let's say someone close to you, a loved one, says something hurtful or either intentional or unintentional. Do we go to them and try to seek out that reconciliation, share perspective, maybe own the side that, hey, this is my fault. Can you also communicate this in a different way? Or do you allow space to grow in between you guys, for bitterness to grow, for that relationship to fizzle out? See, I think you look at those different situations and you know the voice. You know what God is calling you to do, but it's probably the hard thing to do too. And so of all weeks that we're talking, man, we're celebrating an incredible act of sacrificial love this week. We know the voice and the tone of God and what he's asking us to do. Do we act in obedience? Because it says when we know that good shepherd's voice, we go to him, we follow him. And so my challenge for us this week today, as you hear those voices on your shoulders, as you hear that voice of God coming to you, do we follow in an act of obedience? Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for this Daily Dose. We would love to be able to hear other topics you would like us to cover. Put them in the comments below, and remember, like and subscribe.